All right, let's dive in. Today, we're breaking down a pretty wild idea. How you can launch a business that could be worth 7 figures, not in a year, not even in a month, but in just 48 hours. Yeah, you heard that right. Let's get into the playbook. So just stop and think about that for a second. That idea you've been kicking around in your head, that little problem you always wish someone would solve. What if you could turn that into a paying business by Sunday night? I know, it sounds kind of crazy, but that's the exact challenge we're tackling today. And the guy behind this whole challenge is Noah Kagan, the founder of AppSumo. He's built multiple 7-figure businesses, and his whole philosophy, which is the foundation for this framework, is that the biggest things holding you back, well, they're all in your head. Okay, let's get right into it. The very idea of launching a business over a weekend, it just seems to fly in the face of everything we've been told, right? You know, the long business plans, endless market research, trying to raise money. But that's exactly the point. And this right here, this is the real killer of most startups. It's not a bad idea or lack of money. It's analysis paralysis. You know that feeling where you just overthink and plan and try to perfect everything, and you end up never actually starting? Well, this playbook is the antidote to that. So how do you break out of that cycle? Well, it all starts with a pretty radical shift in your mindset. Let's dig into the core philosophy that makes a 48-hour launch even possible. And boom, here it is. This is the mantra you've got to live by. Now, not how. It means you forget about figuring out every single step. Forget the perfect logo or some 5-year financial projection. The only goal is to take action immediately and learn by actually doing. You'll figure out the how as you go. And this just lays out the difference so perfectly. You've got the traditional way, slow, theoretical, obsessed with getting everything right before you start. And then you have the weekend approach, which is all about speed, validating your idea with actual customers, and changing things based on what they tell you. You sell it first, then you build it. Okay, a mindset shift is great and all, but how do you actually do this? You need a real game plan. So let's break down the step-by-step actions for your weekend. First things first, you need an idea. And look, you don't need a lightning bolt of genius. Just look around you. What's bugging you? Boom, that's an idea. What's already selling really well? Cool, create an accessory or a service for it. Check out marketplaces to see what people are already buying or see what questions people are asking on sites like Reddit. Seriously, the ideas are literally everywhere. Okay, listen up, because this is your only objective for the entire weekend. Not a website, not a business card, not a cool logo. Forget all that. Your one and only goal is to find 3 real people who are willing to pay you for your solution before you've even built it. That's it. That's real validation. And how do you get those 3 customers? You just follow this simple process. First, you just listen. Ask people about their problems and let them talk. Then, you present a few potential ways you could solve it. And finally, you transition to the sale with a super clear offer. Something like, for $50, I will solve this for you by next Friday. It's direct, it's simple, and it really works. Now this brings us to the big one. For so many people, this is the single biggest hurdle in this entire process. It's not the idea, it's not the plan, it's the simple and kind of terrifying act of actually asking for the money. According to Kagan, these are the 2 fears that stop almost everyone. We've talked about the fear of starting. We tackle that with the now, not how mindset. But that fear of asking, the fear of hearing no, man, that's a muscle that you have to train on purpose. And this is how you train it. It's called the coffee challenge. It's so simple. The next time you buy a coffee, just ask for 10% off. They'll probably say no, and that's the whole point. The goal isn't to save a few cents. It's to get used to the feeling of asking and to realize that rejection isn't going to kill you. It builds your confidence for when the stakes are a little higher. And this is the final crucial mindset shift you have to make about selling. If you truly believe your idea solves a real problem for someone, then you're not being pushy by asking for the sale. You're helping. You're just educating them about a solution that exists. Selling becomes an act of service. Okay, let's fast forward. You survived the weekend, you conquered your fears, you even made a few sales. That's amazing. But now what? How do you turn that initial spark into a sustainable, growing business?
Right, this is the big transition point. This is where you go from a weekend experiment to a long-term company. And that requires a different set of skills and a more structured way of thinking about growth.
And for that, we can look to frameworks like this one, the BRiSK3 Mind model. Just think of this as your toolkit for scaling up. It covers all the key areas you need to focus on. B for the core business model. R for managing risk and relationships, I for innovation, S for scalability, and K for knowledge and continuous improvement. It's basically the roadmap for getting beyond those first 3 sales. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground, from that initial mindset shift all the way to a framework for long-term growth. But let's bring it all back to the most important fundamental principle in this entire playbook. And if you remember only one thing from all of this, let it be this. Your weekend launch isn't about creating some perfect, flawless company. It is about running your first experiment. Everything you do, from finding the idea to making that first ask, it's all just an experiment. You test, you learn, you might fail, you adapt, and then you try again. So, as we wrap this up, the only question that really matters is the one right here on the screen. Forget about next month or next year. Your weekend starts now. So what's the first experiment you're going to run? What will you build?